Hi everyone, this is Samantha from the Dancing Soap Dish, and it's Mosaic Soap Challenge time again. Yes, now that it's March, it's time for our next Mosaic Soap project. And here they are. These are rose gold heart mosaic soap bars. They've been made with a beautiful sparkly rose gold mica. I don't know if you can see it, but they are so incredibly shimmery, both the heart and sort of the pale background as well, because both of them contain mica. And as per usual, I made them with this mosaic tile silicone mold that I've been using for all my projects. Just these random tiles up the top here and these square ones on the corner are the ones that I used. And I call this a cheats version of mosaic soap because instead of painstakingly putting together all these tiles to make these hearts, I actually used a cookie cutter to just cut out a heart shape from a slab of mosaic tile soap. And it's a great effect, don't you think? Okay, I had to get these out into the sun because I really want to show you how beautiful and shimmery these are. Look at this, it is sparkling, and mica comes in every color of the rainbow, so imagine these in any color you want. They are simply gorgeous. So this month I am again showing you a new mosaic soap technique. I call this technique the cookie cutter technique for obvious reasons. This technique is so easy and so versatile. It can be adapted with a range of different shaped cookie cutters to make any design you want. You can find the full printable tutorial, including weights and measures, ingredients, and equipment on the Dancing Soap Dish website, and check out the links in the description of this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what we do. Let's get started. So I'm sure it hasn't escaped your attention that I've done 3 different shapes for my soap bars. I'm not trying to be tricky. I'm trying to show you that no matter what shape soap mold you have on hand, you can make one of these bars. So I did a circular one, a square one, and a hexagonal one, just purely to show you how the effect looks in each different shape bar. But I mean, if you've got a circular mold, use circles. If you've got a square mold, use squares. You do not have to make 3 different shape ones like I'm doing now. This is purely just for demonstration purposes. So I've loaded my mold onto just a breadboard because I find it's really easy for moving them around when I need to. I'm going to make 3 base bars to rest my mosaic on top of, and these base bars are going to be 50 grams each. I'm also going to add another 50 grams of extra soap that I'll use to embed my mosaic hearts at the end. I want them to be the same color and the same scent as the rest of the soap, so that's why I'm going to do it all together. So for my base soap bars, I'm using a combination of clear and white soap base at a ratio of 80 to 20, so 80% clear and 20% white. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want the shimmer in my mica to come through in the base bar. If I just use white, the base bar would still be rose gold colored, but it wouldn't have that shimmer, and that's what I'm really after, because when you're using the soap in the shower, it's what looks really beautiful. So I'm scenting my soap with a combination of wild orange and ylang essential oils, and what I've done is I've actually added the essential oils and the micas together because it will help the mica mix in. Mica is really light and it floats on top of your soap, so it's quite hard to get it to mix in. So that's why I like to mix it in with my fragrance, and then you'll find that it mixes in much easier into the soap base. So see, I'm going to give this a stir here, and that is mixing in quite easily. So the next step is to pour my base soap bars. I've got my soap molds sitting here on top of a breadboard and then on top of a set of scales so I can weigh out even weight soap bars. I've also got on hand a paper cup, a wax-lined paper cup, because I'm going to pour the excess that I've made into the paper cup to keep it for later to do the grouting. So I'm doing 3 50-gram soap bars. So the best way to get even gram soap bars is to just weigh out your 50 grams. And then I'll also spray that with alcohol to get rid of the bubbles. Then I'll press tare on the scales so that it resets the scales to 0 and I can weigh out another 50-gram bar. So I'm doing a square and a circle, and I've also got my hexagonal bar over here as well. And when I have finished pouring that, my aim, if I have calculated correctly, is to have about 50 grams or so of soap left over, which I will pour into the paper cup. And it's going to set, that's fine. I'm going to let it set for later. And then when I want some soap later that has the same scent and the same color as my base bars, I'll be able to just tear the paper cup open and use that soap again. Now it's time to make the Mosaic tile soap slabs. I am using clear base for this. Again, I'm adding in fragrance and mica mixed together. I'll give that a good stir. So the clear base is just so the beautiful mica shines through. And I want the tiles to be a little bit darker than the base bars, just so they stand out. And your grout's normally lighter than tiles, so I've done darker tiles and lighter base bars, lighter grout. So I've got my Mosaic tile silicone molds just sitting on a tray with a piece of greaseproof paper. There probably will be some spills. I love these little measuring cups, barista milk cups. They are so good for pouring soap carefully into this mold. I'm spraying it with alcohol as I go. I'm going to fill up these two sections here. The fact that they're next to each other is making it really easy. But then I also decided I wanted squares, which are over in the corner. So I'm just doing my best to fill up the mold. I am intentionally overfilling the mold because I do want the Mosaic tiles to stick together. So when I remove the slab from the mold, I need a little bit of excess sitting on the top that will help hold all the tiles together. I don't want the tiles to pop out individually. So I've just made sure that I've poured plenty of soap into these cavities and that it will come out in a nice soap Mosaic tile slab. I've sprayed that with alcohol and I'll let that set. So here we are, it has now set. I've left it for a good hour because I want it to be nice and solid. Now I'm going to very carefully ease the mold away from the tiles. In the other projects I've done, I've just turned the mold over and just, pulled all the tiles out. I haven't cared if they've come apart because I've wanted them to be apart, but this time I really want to take the whole slab out in one piece, just like that. So the easiest way to do that is to turn your mold over and first of all, just sort of give it a bit of a bend and a flex to get the edges coming apart from the mold, and then turn it over again and peel the mold away from the soap rather than peel the soap away from the mold, just like I'm doing now. And with a little bit of tender loving care, you can quite easily pry the mold away and end up with a whole slab of soap Mosaic tiles. There we go. I'm just going to pull off any excess here. We don't need that. And there we go. I have my 3 slabs of different shaped Mosaic tiles, which is awesome. So the next step is to cut my heart shape embeds out of these soap slabs with my cookie cutters. I'm bringing over my base soap bars because I need to select a cookie cutter that fits inside the base soap bar. Obviously I can't cut a huge heart that's not going to fit, so I've got these nested cookie cutters here, these heart shaped ones. They're giving me a range of different sizes, so I'm just going to check which size it is that I want to make my embed out of. Now this larger one does fit, but it's a little bit too close to the edge for my liking. So I am going to go with the smallest cookie cutter. Now look at these other cookie cutters I've got here. I've got flower shaped ones, I've got star shaped ones, and again you can see all the different sizes that you can use. Nested cookie cutters are a really great idea because you can make sure you get the perfect size. And you can find these in a range of different shapes. Okay, so just move this out the way. I've selected this small heart-shaped cookie cutter here. I'm going to turn my slabs over because I don't want the soap Mosaic tiles to push out to the side as I'm cutting into them. And what I'm also doing is I'm looking through the cookie cutter to make sure that I'm finding sort of the perfect cut where I won't have edge pieces that are too tiny or a heart that looks a bit wonky. So once I've found the perfect cut, I'm going to push down on the cookie cutter. That was relatively easy. And I can pop out a little heart-shaped embed here, which I will pop on top of my base bar here just to see how that looks. And I think that's going to look really good. Of course it does. Okay, now time to cut out my next one. Again, I'm just lining up the perfect cut for this heart-shaped embed, pushing down firmly on the cookie cutter to cut through the soap. Doesn't take much effort, which is good. And I can pop out another beautiful mosaic embed. And now finally the squares. I'm just going to line these up so the square pattern is centered in my heart. I think that'll look the best. There we go. And let's see how this one comes out. Yes, yeah, definitely make sure you center that one. It'll look much better. And I'll pop the squares in the square mold and I'll put that one in the hexagon mold. Finally, it's time to grout in the mosaic soap heart embeds that I have. I'm going to use this soap that I saved from before. So this is the same scent and color as the base soap bars. I can just easily pull it out of the paper cup here by just tearing the paper cup away. I'm going to chop it up into cubes and put it in a little glass measuring cup again, and so I can remelt it and grout my soap bars. Here it is, ready to go. I'm just going to get myself organized here. There's a few things that I need to make sure I've got on hand before I start the grouting process. Just making sure I'm happy with my bars and looking at how they're going to sit. I'm also going to need some isopropyl alcohol and some cotton swabs or cotton buds, Q-tips, whatever you want to call them. I've also got a toothpick, which has a very special job. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to perforate my embeds with the toothpick. I'm going to poke little holes in between the tiles so that when I go to stick them down in the liquid soap, they don't float, but that the soap will come up through the grout lines and it'll just help the embed to stay in place. So it's pretty easy to do. I'm just poking the holes in between the tiles. You can sort of see those holes at the back there. I just need to do this to all 3 embeds before I start. So I finished that off now. I'll just show you all of them now have been perforated, just with little holes, and I'll just bring them back over. There we go. And continue to get organized. Okay, so I can melt this soap now, and while that soap is melting, I'm going to give everything a really good spray with the alcohol. So that's the embeds and also the surface of the base soap bars. If everything is covered in alcohol, it just makes the next step so much easier, which you'll be able to see in a second. So I'm just going to line this up one last time just to make sure I'm happy with where I plan to place it. Yep, that looks good because I need to work quickly these next steps. I'm just going to pour a tiny bit of soap into the mold, not even enough to cover the whole surface. And then I'm going to push my embed in, and the soap's coming up through the holes that I made. I'm giving it another good spray with alcohol, and I'm going to pour more soap around it. Now I've just poured it over the top, and the reason for that is just the only way to get it properly grouted. And then I'm going to use this cotton bud dipped in alcohol to wash off any excess soap sitting on the top. So that's why the alcohol is important, because when everything is sort of soaked in alcohol, it means that the soap's not going to readily stick to the top of the mosaic tiles, and it will just buy me the extra 30 seconds I need to wipe off that excess soap that I've poured over the top as I've been grouting them in. So the same goes with this one. Plenty of alcohol, giving it a spray as I go. I'm pouring the soap over the top. That's okay. Another spray of the alcohol, and then very quickly just cleaning off those tiles with any of the lighter soap that's sitting on top. And everything is looking beautifully grouted. There we go. Good spray again. Tiny little bit of soap. Push your embed into that soap. Position it properly. When you're happy with it, continue grouting around it and over the top of it. Spraying as you go. And then very quickly grab that cotton bud dipped in alcohol and just clean off those tiles from any of that excess soap. And that is it. Very simple, very quick, but they are done. I've put them aside to set overnight and now it's time to demold them. Again, very simple. Just push from the bottom of the mold and pop the soap out. Just like that. Oh, it's very pretty on the back too, nice and sparkly. Okay, but on this side I have a beautiful mosaic heart. I'm also going to pop out the round one. There we go. Look at that. That is so beautiful. Very elegant. And finally, the square bar with the square mosaic tile heart. Here it comes. Look at that. 3 beautiful bars. They are fantastic. A great Mother's Day gift, by the way. Hint, hint, Mother's Day is coming up. Give it a go. Alrighty. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial for rose gold heart mosaic soap bars. Don't forget to check out the other mosaic soap bars I've made for the 2023 Mosaic Soap Challenge. They're available in a playlist on our YouTube channel. If you love what we do and you want to see more soaps, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out other great projects on the Dancing Soap Dish website. Thanks guys, enjoy!